Welcome back to the podcast, Tobias.
Thanks.
How are you
Glad to be
doing?
back again. Yeah, good. All good. Just came back from a
I
nice walk with the dog. So
Wonderful. I look back on the last time you were on an episode and we talked about HubSpot, and that was like your second week at Zuma.
yeah,
So I guess you're a bit more settled in now, right? Or
yeah, yeah.
hmm?
It was it was easy to settle in at
Yeah, I
Zuma,
suppose you
but
weren't totally new, were you?
still, yeah. Now it's more every day. The
Yeah,
newness is the fresh eyes are gone, so to
yeah. The
say.
novelty is gone now. It's just
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
daily grind. Good, but speaking of the daily grind, today we were going to talk about friction. Um,
Yeah.
I thought it would be a good topic because you had an article on the Onlinification Hub recently, which was called "Fighting Churn by Removing Friction."
Yeah.
Churn being the rate at which a company loses customers. So basically, how can you make sure that the customers you already have stick around instead of leaving and going somewhere else. So I guess maybe we could just start if I ask you what is friction in this context?
Yeah, so in this context, friction is really any hindrance that the customer can experience in working either with your product, with your service, or with your company or organization as a whole. So it's a very wide topic. When we talk about friction in the context of existing customers, yeah, you can think of like onboarding processes that have to be smooth, renewal processes that have to be smooth, even cancellation processes that you want to have smooth. And then when we talk about it more in like friction or frictionless experience in sort of the commercial process, then it's everything from is my messaging from marketing um, consistent with the messaging from sales? Is my understanding of the customer and my persona, does it align well with my value propositions with the product that I'm actually offering? But also small details as like, does the customer have to print the contract that I sent him, then sign it, then scan it, and then email it back? Uh, that is friction as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it seemed, even when you say it, it seems like such a small and silly thing, maybe. But I guess when it's lots of little things like that all the time that just make it so that having anything to do with this company is a huge pain, then that's maybe
Yeah.
gonna maybe not drive people away, but like you said, when it comes time for renewal or something, maybe their eyes will be drifting somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. If it's too much small things, and like if we think about this in like a customer perspective, if it's I have to ask, if we think about this even in like a Zuma perspective, right? If a customer has to ask, hey, we want some more suggestions on how to do this or that. That's a piece of friction where you can remove that friction by proactively giving suggestions, right? Um, so even to make it super practical in like our day to day, that's maybe a good example of what can also be friction.
Mm. And it seems like I guess all companies have a problem with this, but do you think it's more of a threat for B2B companies? I'm just thinking that, often buying something B2B is a bit more of a tricky process than just buying something online. There's a long process and you need to go through a salesperson, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. That it might be for B2B companies, they are less aware of the problem. because of the smaller numbers of customers usually, right? So if I make a 0.5% increase on 1 million customers, the effect is going to be dramatic. And when I make that same change for 20 customers, you might not really see it in your bottom line. So then it's easier to think, to not think about it, or to be like, it doesn't really matter if we change this. It doesn't really matter if we make this process a bit more smooth for our customers or not. But I think like in this friction, on this friction topic, there's so much good stuff B2B can learn from B2C.
Yeah. And I guess also, maybe this isn't the right way of looking at it, but I guess B2B companies maybe think, among their customers, even the customers kind of expect that, the experience might be a bit bumpy.
Yeah.
The people, you kind of expect that it's more difficult to buy, make some huge B2B like industrial purchase than it is just to buy a pair of jeans or something online. And maybe they kind of lean on that as an excuse not to make things a bit smoother and frictionless,
Yeah, of course, with such a person or such a purchase, there's also a need for a lot more touch points. Like no one is going to buy a new big amount of factory equipment for like 10 million SEK online, or they might, but they probably want to see the machine before they buy it. They maybe want to have like maybe even a factory visit, just to get the full trust in the company that they can deliver. But still, like I guess the principle still holds true, right? Even though there is need for more touch points, still you can make sure that those touch points are frictionless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I presume a lot of the people listening to this will be at B2B companies, and hopefully, or I guess depends whether they're aware or not, but if they're listening to this, maybe they recognize some things and it's like, oh yeah, there is a bit of friction in our processes as well. If you're trying to make make sure that things are as friction free as possible for your existing customers, where should you start? Because it kind of seems like we're talking about, there's like tools on one side.
Yeah.
Like, there's digital signage and stuff that we spoke about at the start when you get a contract on paper that you have to scan. But then on the other side, it's kind of more of a way of thinking, it's a bit more kind of strategic.
Yeah. So my default answer would be look at the data, but that's probably the wrong answer. The right answer is have conversations with your newly signed customers or with your current customers and ask them, hey, you just became a customer. Do you have any feedback on this sales process? Is there anything we could have improved? Is there anything that would have made it easier for you to make a decision? And then you maybe get feedback like, yeah, well, actually, it would have been nice if someone would have sent me a case study that was, or if you guys would have had a case study. Well, then it's okay, cool. We can like produce that content, and in the next time we get in touch with a customer like this, the sales rep can send it out proactively. Or yeah, but then yeah, my default answer is always data. Data is always where the answer is. So in that way, you could look at NPS scores, talk with people with a low NPS score, look at conversion rates in your sales process, like from what stage to what stage are they dropping off? Okay, here they are. We're dropping off below benchmark. or way below benchmark. Okay, let's investigate that specific area. Uh, yeah, yeah. I have a fun. I think I also mentioned this in one of the blogs on the MPS. I work with a company who they sold admin software, right? So like bookkeeping software, and they're they were in this like bigger like transformational process some years ago, and they gave their board members took it upon themselves to call everyone who gave an MPS score of 5 or lower, and then it started just like to actually get like the CFO on the phone, like, hey, I saw you score this with like a 4. How can I make this up to you? Blah blah blah. And this was a big company, like tens of thousands of customers, and that also made it so that it started to live like customer experience in general became a topic um, in the boardroom or in the management teams, and it really started to live in the whole organizations. I think they even got to the point where uh, even on the desks of the developers or in the the rooms where the developers sat, they had pictures of the personas, so that they were thinking, oh yeah, I'm writing this code not for this user X, but I'm writing this for the wife of a guy who has a small construction company where she, in the evenings and in the weekends, takes care of the bookkeeping. That's a very different. You will make different choices in your software then,
Yeah,
probably,
yeah, yeah.
in user interface, in like amount of wizards and explanations and information icons that you have. And um, I thought that was a very, very interesting process that that company went through.
No, that is
Yeah.
interesting. And then I guess you're not kind of just fighting churn as it happens, but you're kind of building up things so that it doesn't happen in the first place.
Yeah, and I guess fighting churn and improving customer experience might be synonyms,
Mm, mm. Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's I was just kind of asking. That brings me on to a question of like service, where
Mhm.
because I mean when I kind of think about when I've stopped being a customer of somewhere. Now I've never made any kind of B2B purchase, but just in your normal life, then
Yeah,
usually it's after some kind of unsatisfactory interaction with customer service, and
yeah.
I guess maybe that's somewhere that B2B companies have been a bit weaker traditionally. Would you say? Oh,
Um, I would almost say the opposite. Like if I call a B2B company, say if I need HubSpot support, I might be on hold for what, 2 minutes max, or I can do a chat or a forum or stuff like that, or I can just call my account manager, right? And then my account manager will take it further in the organization. And yeah, maybe it takes 2 weeks before my problem is solved, but I've made my problem known quite quickly. Where if I call my phone service provider, right, or my bank, for example, I call them and go to like 5 different choice options. I have to enter my person number. I have to stay on the line for at least half an hour. And then I speak to someone who then connects me to another person where I have to wait another 10 minutes. And then that person is like, oh, yeah, no, we cannot do this. Uh, like, I guess it kind of looks at, yeah, it kind of depends on like what sort of company you're looking at. Because I, I mentioned bank. So I'm like, this is no no promo, but like I recently moved to Sweden and wanted to become like open a bank account and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I got in touch with Handelsbanken. And if I call Handelsbanken, I call their office right down the street here. And this guy, he answers the phone. And I talk to him about, I want this and that. Okay, cool, here's some information. I get an email from him. I reply to the email. I go to the office. I meet with this same person. He gives me all the guidance of how to set up everything. 3 weeks later, I call Handelsbanken again because I want a mortgage. Same guy answers the phone. Same guy I'm in contact with. And it feels like I'm working with like a small business, right? The customer intimacy of a small business. Like your barber that you go to every couple of weeks and that you talk with and that remembers stuff. I got that feeling from a nationwide bank, maybe even international bank. And like, I'm so impressed.
That is
It's
impressive.
so above my expectation.
Hmm.
Because I was expecting, like, okay, I'll probably call them during my lunch break because then I can be on hold for an hour. I have the time for that. So some companies get it.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you started telling that story, we could record an entire episode, you and me, talking about the challenges of trying to open a bank account as a foreigner in Sweden. But it seems like it went very, very smoothly for you.
I mean, as long as you have your persona number and you have your ID card,
Yeah,
then
that's the challenge.
Then you get your BankID. Then you get your bank. Then you get your BankID. Then life actually begins.
Yeah.
It's about a bad customer experience in this regards. My dog. I go to this pet store and they're like, "Oh, do you want to become a member? You get our points and get a discount or something." Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, go through like the whole. What's your phone number? Blah 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 blah. Okay, what's your name? This, that, blah 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 blah. Okay, what's your persona number? I don't have a persona number. Oh, okay. Then then we can't help you. My dog cannot become a member of your store because I don't have a persona number. Like, even GDPR, technically, it's illegal for you to ask my persona number to become a member. But like, it was like a situation of like, computer says no.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that sketch. Yeah. Computer says no.
I mean, the best thing is when you get your Swedish ID card for the first time, you have to pick it up from the post office, and in order to pick it up, you have to show a piece of Swedish ID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was what it was like for me, anyway.
Okay, I just had to go to the tax authority.
I had to fight with them a few times, and so yeah, Sweden needs to work on its consistent customer experience. It sounds like, or maybe it's just easier for Dutch people than British people.
There's friction, there's friction there.
Very good. Well, maybe that's a future episode we can take as customer experience lessons from the Swedish tax authorities.
Yeah, and give a shout out to Rosanna because she really helped with.
Well, we need to get her on as well then.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Tobias, thank you very much for joining us again.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And I'm just going to do my little outro now. Thank you for listening, whoever is listening. You can subscribe to this podcast, so please do. And if you want to listen more, then just go to zuma.agency and you'll find out more.